Artificial intelligence, once a concept confined to the realm of science fiction, now pulses at the heart of the world's most powerful tech giants. Amazon, Alphabet, Google's parent company, and Meta, formerly Facebook, are not only leaders in innovation but also primary architects of a future increasingly shaped by intelligent machines. Yet, as AI integrates deeper into the digital infrastructure of our lives, from voice assistants and facial recognition systems to recommendation algorithms and autonomous decision-making, its unchecked deployment is drawing intense scrutiny. This scrutiny is not just from regulators, academics, and human rights organizations, but now more vocally, from shareholders. Investors are beginning to ask a profound question. In the pursuit of innovation and profit, are companies ignoring the ethical boundaries of artificial intelligence? In recent months, the pressure from shareholders has gained unprecedented momentum. Annual general meetings of these tech behemoths have seen a surge in proxy votes, a tool shareholders use to express their stance on company policies, demanding greater accountability on AI usage. These aren't fringe demands from idealistic minority investors. They represent a rising tide of institutional and retail investors who understand that ethical lapses in AI deployment could have severe consequences, not only for society but for the long-term financial health of the companies themselves. Shareholders are becoming aware that public backlash, regulatory fines, and erosion of consumer trust are risks that could undermine the very valuation of these firms. One of the main catalysts for this movement has been the public's growing unease with how personal data is collected, processed, and leveraged by AI algorithms. Algorithms that power social media platforms and online marketplaces are designed to optimize engagement and revenue, but they often do so at the cost of privacy, fairness, and even mental well-being. Content recommendation engines, for example, have been accused of promoting divisive or harmful content because such material often garners more attention and, consequently, more advertising dollars. Similarly, facial recognition systems have faced criticism for their high error rates, particularly in identifying women and people of color, and their potential misuse by governments and law enforcement agencies. These concerns have now made their way into boardroom conversations, propelled by shareholder activism that refuses to be ignored. The key issue that shareholders are highlighting is the lack of transparency. Despite the sweeping impact of AI technologies, the mechanisms behind them remain opaque. Terms like black box algorithms have become common parlance, referring to AI systems whose internal workings are so complex that even the developers cannot fully explain why they make certain decisions. This opacity is not just a technical challenge, it's an ethical dilemma. Shareholders argue that if a company cannot explain or control its AI systems, it cannot guarantee that those systems operate in a fair, unbiased, and accountable manner. To this end, shareholders have started to introduce and support resolutions that push for comprehensive AI governance frameworks within these companies. These resolutions often call for regular AI impact assessments, transparent reporting of AI deployment, and the establishment of internal ethics boards with independent oversight. At Meta's latest shareholder meeting, for instance, investors proposed a resolution demanding that the company conduct an independent audit of its AI-driven content recommendation systems, focusing on how they affect civil rights and user mental health. Though the resolution did not pass, it garnered significant support, an indication that the investor base is shifting towards a more ethically conscious stance. Amazon and Alphabet have faced similar pressure. At Amazon, shareholders pushed for a report on the company's use of facial recognition technology, especially its sale to government entities. The concern centered on the potential for misuse and the company's accountability in scenarios where its technology might contribute to civil rights violations. Alphabet, meanwhile, has been under fire for its work on military AI applications and the perceived lack of employee and stakeholder input in shaping its AI ethics policies. These examples underscore a broader investor push for what is often termed ethical AI governance, a commitment to designing, deploying, and managing AI systems in a way that aligns with societal values and human rights. The call for ethical AI is not merely about doing good, it's also about safeguarding shareholder value in the long term. Scandals involving AI misuse can lead to consumer boycotts, regulatory crackdowns, and reputational damage, costs that directly affect the bottom line. Moreover, as governments around the world move toward regulating AI more aggressively, companies that are seen as proactive in ethical AI deployment are more likely to navigate this regulatory landscape successfully. Shareholders understand that ethical foresight is not a hindrance to innovation but a critical component of sustainable growth. Interestingly, the push for ethical AI is also being supported by a growing body of evidence that suggests companies with strong environmental, social, and governance (ESG) practices tend to outperform their peers over the long term. Ethical AI governance fits squarely within the ESG framework, particularly under the social and governance pillars. As a result, ESG-focused investment funds and rating agencies are beginning to scrutinize how companies handle AI ethics. A poor track record in this area could result in lower ESG scores, reduced access to capital, and exclusion from socially responsible investment portfolios. This creates a financial incentive for companies to take shareholder concerns seriously. But despite these growing demands, progress has been uneven. Many tech companies remain reluctant to open up their AI operations to external audits or make meaningful changes to their governance structures. This resistance often stems from a fear of exposing proprietary information or undermining competitive advantage. However, shareholders argue that secrecy should not come at the expense of accountability. The lack of independent oversight creates a risk environment where ethical breaches can go unnoticed until they escalate into full-blown crises. There is also the issue of ethics washing, a practice where companies make superficial commitments to ethical AI without implementing substantive changes. This can take the form of publishing high-level AI principles on company websites without backing them up with concrete policies or metrics. Shareholders are growing increasingly adept at distinguishing between genuine commitment and corporate lip service. Proxy votes are now being used not just to push for action, but to hold companies accountable for past promises. Investors want proof, clear metrics, third-party audits, and transparent reporting mechanisms that show ethical AI principles are being put into practice. This emerging dynamic between shareholders and tech companies represents a significant shift in the power structure of Silicon Valley. For years, the narrative was that innovation should be unshackled, that tech companies should be left to self-regulate, and that ethical considerations were secondary to market disruption. That narrative is being rewritten. Today, shareholders are asserting that ethical responsibility is not just compatible with innovation, it is a prerequisite for it. They are demanding that companies embed ethics into the core of their business strategies rather than treat it as an afterthought. Furthermore, the rise of shareholder activism on AI ethics coincides with broader societal debates about the role of technology in democracy, justice, and personal autonomy. Movements advocating for digital rights, algorithmic fairness, and tech accountability have found unexpected allies in investment firms and pension funds. This convergence of civil society and capital markets is a powerful force, one that tech companies can no longer afford to ignore. It also suggests that the future of AI governance may be shaped as much by financial stakeholders as by policymakers and ethicists. As the conversation continues to evolve, some companies have begun to respond more constructively. Microsoft, for example, has established an Office of Responsible AI, released extensive documentation on its AI principles, and actively collaborates with academic and civil society partners. While not immune to criticism, such initiatives demonstrate a willingness to engage with ethical concerns proactively. Shareholders are taking note and using these examples to raise the bar for other companies. What becomes clear is that the discourse around AI ethics is no longer theoretical or confined to academic circles. It is a real, material issue with financial implications and societal consequences. The rise of shareholder engagement on this front signals a maturing of the tech sector, where unchecked growth is no longer celebrated uncritically. Investors are signaling that they expect companies to not only build powerful technologies but also to wield them with care, responsibility, and foresight. In the coming years, this trend is likely to intensify. As AI systems become more autonomous, more embedded in critical infrastructure, and more impactful in our daily lives, the ethical questions will only grow more urgent. Shareholders will continue to demand transparency, accountability, and alignment with democratic values. They will ask companies to consider not just what AI can do, but what it should do. And in doing so, they are redefining what it means to be a responsible innovator in the 21st century. Ultimately, the challenge is not just technical, it is moral, social, and political. The shareholders of today are stepping into a new role, that of ethical stewards for a technological future that affects us all. In pushing for greater accountability from Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and others, they are not merely safeguarding their investments. They are shaping the trajectory of a global transformation, one resolution at a time. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos.